College or no college? This is such a hot topic right now, and this is something that I've always gotten into a debate with people with over the last couple of years. As a background, I was always so it's funny because like I was so keen on going into college when I was in high school, but then I went and then I became anti-college because I dropped out and I was like, hey, this is something you really don't need, right? And that was about, I want to say 8 years ago. And now 8 years later, now I'm actually going back to school online. And at a time where AI is taking over, people are regretting going to college. People are trying to pivot over to trades. I'm seeing people saying that, like, they make more money being like a police officer or taking a trade or like a garbage person and etc. because those things are becoming more valuable as like technology advances and stuff like that. And I'm in the crosshairs where I'm actually going back where people are leaving. So what's up with the deal with that? So as I said, when I was in high school about I want to say like 9 years ago or 10 years ago at this point, I was like very my whole plan was to go to college, right? What I wanted to be was a doctor and some type of clinical psychology, but my major at the time was just psychology. I was very always into the mind and like how human psychology works and etc. Because as I look at it now, like if you know how human psychology works, then you can bend a lot to your will, and you can like do a lot with that when it comes to like managing your relationships or marketing and etc. Right? But when I did that decision, I was 17 or 18 when I was like trying to go, and I was going to a CUNY in New York, and it was a college that I didn't really want to go to, right? So at first, funny enough, I got denied from a bunch of colleges actually because I wanted to pursue film. But then when I got denied from those certain programs, like I wanted to go to SUNY Purchase, for example, and then they denied me. So I actually wanted to go to a film school, but then I went to a program that like kind of just was like, hey, you don't really even need the education. And like it turns out now, anything in fine arts, like you don't need an education, like a degree for it. And that's why with me, I was always working in video production, and I was able to work for like HBO and like different sets and etc. Like actually getting that experience and producing my own projects, right? No film degree at all, but I can put a project together, and I have a couple of associates and connections to the industry, right? Which is like what they say. It's not what you know, it's who you know when it comes to at least that. But then that changed, and again, I went into psychology. I went to a CUNY, right? So then I think I was going for about a year and some change, and then I dropped out because, like, I hated going, right? I really did. I hated, like, having to travel over there again. It wasn't that far from, like, where I lived, but I had to, like, travel over there, and I had to take a bunch of bullshit classes that, like, had nothing to do with the psychology major, like, at all. So it's kind of like, you had to take, like, algebra and, like, U.S. history. And it's funny because I was gonna fail that U.S. history class because I had a teacher. So like this is why I dropped out, right? This is like one of the reasons where I was like, I don't know if this is for me, because I had a U.S. history teacher, right? God rest his soul, because unfortunately he passed during the course of me going to that class, right? But the crazy part about that is before he passed away, no lie, every time that we had his class, he wouldn't teach us about what we needed to be taught. He would tell us about conspiracies for like 2 hours every time we had him. It came to the point like at the end, when we had to take the test or whatever, like everybody in the classroom was like very like worried, like, he doesn't teach us anything. He just goes to conspiracies. And I thought I was bugging because it's like, no, like he does do that, right? So like we never, like every time he would like take out your textbook, we would never start opening. He would actually start rambling like how I am on this mic about like different things about how the US and this and that and conspiracies. We never actually like really learned our what we were supposed to learn, right? And then again, unfortunately, he passed away. He just didn't show up for a couple of days, and they said they found him in his apartment. And then like I got the passing grade like that. Now, like obviously that's not like thankfully, because it shouldn't have to go like that. But everybody was about to fail that class if that didn't happen. And again, I'm not saying that should have happened. I'm just saying that like somebody can go into a certain position and your future relies on them, and they're not even teaching you what they're supposed to be teaching you, and like nobody's checking anything. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure the whole class probably would have like complained like, hey, look, we failed this, but apparently he was a teacher there for like 12 years. So it's kind of like, I don't know if we would have passed the test based on what he was saying. I'm not really sure. Then I had another teacher, funny enough, I forgot what class this was. I forgot the class, right? But it came to a point like where this teacher was like saying nonsense, right? Like she said something about like she said a bunch of crazy claims, right? One of them was that like the Holocaust didn't exist. Like that's what she said, right? And at that point I was like, okay, like this is I feel like a lot of teachers, at least in this school, are bringing their personal opinions into certain things and like things that like have been documented in history. So like you to make a claim like that didn't really make any sense, to be honest with you. I'm like, I've never even heard that before. I think that's well documented. So it's kind of like, am I really learning what I'm supposed to learn here? So after a while, I was going through it, and like, I started wanting to, like, my head wasn't into it. I wanted to be in film. I met my, I started dating my high school sweetheart, and I just kind of like, dropped out. And funny enough, now thinking about it, like I actually was taking psychology courses while in high school. It was a program called College Now, and I actually liked it. I was taking college courses in the Bronx. I went to Lehman, in the Bronx, to take those College Now courses, and I had a psychology course, and then I had a philosophy course as well too. I believe I passed the psychology stuff, but for philosophy, I just dropped out because like I had a big film project that I was worried about. So I was like, eh. So later on, again, I went to my other college, my CUNY. I wasn't really feeling it, dropped out, and just kind of just pursued what I wanted to in terms of like video production. Because again, you didn't need a degree for that. And I was just like, working different jobs, making connections, and like just building up my resume with experience. Again, I ended up working for HBO. I did an internship with them, and I also worked on a sets with them, like a real TV show. And then like from there, I came back and I did my film project when I went to the other country, came back. It was a film, and I was able to go into like content creation jobs and jobs like that because I had the background, while also producing my own films and stuff like that, and putting the money together to get that stuff done. So that's like when I dropped out, but I built my experience, right? So my whole early 20s, mid 20s, like I was building experience, going through different routes. Again, that's how I kind of ended up on entrepreneurship. So it's like, instead of me learning in the classroom, I got my hands dirty within the industry, and like just learned a lot of life skills, people skills, management skills, and stuff that I could refer to like with like photos of myself, or like projects, or like, references, to be like, yeah, we did work with each other. I did put this project together, right? So now we're coming up to now, right? I'm back in school, and it's probably like, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't even make any sense, right? So again, as subscribers to the channel, you know that like I'm having a life reset, and I'm trying to like do things in all areas of my life to like not be in the situation that I am in again, right? Again, I'm currently living with my mom to reset my life, just because again, like I have not been doing the best decisions in the last 2 years, and not looking at certain things, right? And I ended up, so like funny enough, right? Like when I was studying entrepreneurship, right? I ended up studying a lot of storytelling, a lot of business, a lot of marketing, persuasion, and etc., right? Like I actually fell in love with the art of that stuff, right? And obviously like I knew storytelling, because of film production, but storytelling goes so much beyond just, what you see on the screen, like films and stuff like that. It goes into TV shows, gaming, a bunch of other things that me and you like interact with every day, right? So I just fell in love with the art, and again, talking and etc., right? Persuasion, influence, stuff like that, right? And when I did my reset and I stood at my mom's house, I ended up seeing an ad one day for the school that I am in right now, WGU, and I looked at it, and it was like online school, go at your own pace, this or that, blah blah blah. Then it turns out that my mom actually goes to that school. I was asking her about it, and then I was doing some more research. Now again, like I'm at a point where I do research on everything just to know like what's the worst that can happen, what's the best that can happen. And then I ended up noticing that their communications program was like fairly new, right? Apparently WGU only instates degrees that are going to be valuable over the next couple of years, right? But at the very same time, right, I ended up choosing that degree because I actually like the art of storytelling, the art of marketing, the art of influence and persuasion in people, and etc., right? So like this communications degree, like I'm at my second class already, and there's a bunch of things that I've learned in entrepreneurship that is being taught here on a more deeper level, right? So not only am I going for communications to be able to possibly get a job in content creation or some type of marketing or internal or whatever may have you, I'm also learning it because I actually love love the art form myself, right? And it is something that I could apply to a video business, the one that I am trying to build, or something in the future, just because I know how management this or that works. Now, again, this is something you can get off the internet, but there is something just a little different about formal education or like textbook stuff, right? And like that's also the reason why I went back as well too, because when I was working my, I think like 2 jobs ago, I was working this content creation job. They had a big emphasis on education and training and applying, right? And when I went there and I applied and learned a bunch of things, I just ended up seeing the world differently. Now, I can't go too much into that experience, right? But it just made me like believe and learn that like, hey, look, like there's a reason why this stuff does exist, right? Now, I think a lot of people don't. So the good thing about me, right, is like, I'm happy I dropped out early, right? Because I always said this. I'm like, how does somebody expect an 18 or 19-year-old to know what they want to do for the rest of their life? You don't even know yourself at that point, right? So like, some people get into degrees that they don't like or like studying. I mean, I knew a person who said they went for gender studies in college, right? I don't know how you can get a job in that or like make 6 figures in that, but like he was pretty stressed out, and it's kind of like, well, of course, because that, I think that's like not the brightest decision, respectfully, or like really going into film for a degree. I was so upset when I couldn't get that film degree, but like now look, AI is about to change all that in the next 10 years. And those people like have $60,000 in debt just to get a film production degree when you could have just learned it yourself. You just spend $1,000 just to put a project together and learn it on YouTube and like maybe get into a film festival, and then you got more credibility than a college student. So I'm rambling on, but yes, so that's my point, right? Like you wouldn't know what you want to study and what you're going to be in the next 10 years because people change. So to make a decision like that at 18 is pretty crazy, but the world does change too. So when you graduate in 4 years, is that degree, the job market going to be the same? We're seeing that now. Again, like people went into college like 4 or 5 years ago, coming out to like a whole brand new landscape of AI. Now entry level jobs are being taken up, or like certain jobs are not needed because AI can do it. They didn't know this while going there, right? So that's also another problem as well too. But then I think the biggest problem again is like also not knowing how to use the degree, right? So like for me, again, like I've heard people say this was stupid in the comments, right? Which I highly disagree with, right? It's kind of like I'm going for a bunch of different reasons, right? It's for me to cover my ass in all different aspects, right? If me and you were going into a job interview, we have the same qualifications, same experience, but I have a degree and you don't, the employer might lean on the person with a degree, right? And like my father has told me that story too. He said that one time he was literally going in for a job interview, had the same experience as somebody else. They had a degree. If anything, he was a little bit better than that person. Somebody else had a degree and they chose him, right? So I just never want to be in a position like that, right? If we are the same experience, we can all look everything up, blah, 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 but like a piece of paper is the deciding factor, right? So this is for me to cover my ass in that avenue, right? But also too, it's like also like for a personal thing too. And this is something my father and my mom has told me. It's like when you just go, you have like you just feel more confident and you just like have a different view of things, right? But I think you only get that experience when you are of a certain age. You also understand how valuable education is, and when you actually like the thing that you're doing. And that's what I'm saying for myself. It's like, it gives me avenues to like, again, go into marketing, still do video production, do content creation, even use AI to do content, right? But like, what are the fundamentals on doing that? You learn that through communications, right? I also like it as a person. Like I'm learning everything so much better and like just feel so much good about it and feel so accomplished, because even if I didn't get a job in that arena, I like it for myself because I know it helps me in real life, and it does, it really does. And then again, to also make sure that my ass is covered, but to also like, just have an experience where I just feel good about myself. It's funny because my sister's actually going to college right now. She's actually going to a physical college. She's away from home, and she's studying, I forgot exactly what her major. It has to do with psychology, but it's not like directly psychology. I had to bring her on to ask her. But she's getting that experience. She's going like, to be out of New York. She's going to like make new friends, connections. She has a plan, like just like how I make a plan, she makes a plan, so I also think like it's also good for networking as well too. Now that's what I'm saying, like it kind of all depends, right? Like also like with my schooling too, from when I research, I shouldn't be paying $40,000 $20,000. I should just be $8,000 in tuition, like as a whole. That's manageable. You know what I'm saying? That's very, very manageable instead of paying 60, 70, 80,000 dollars, right? And again, like I also said, like I want my main job to actually be a trade. So I'm not even trying to use that communications degree for a job. I'm just using it to for myself to say I have it and to apply it to like my business stuff because it's management. You know, again, I love it so much. Like I do not have any regrets, and it's online as well too. Like I don't gotta pay for going on campus. I don't have to deal with everybody else. I can go at my own pace. If I really want to, I can graduate in like 9 months if I studied all day like a crazy man because they allow you to do that. There's no bullshit classes. They just give you the classes that you need. And their teaching model is different from just taking a test and passing a memorization. It's like more of a competency thing, you know? So I really like that type of learning, and that is how I've always learned anything. And it just makes sense for me at this point in time, you know? So, yeah, it's crazy because, again, I was always that person to be like, yo, I hate college. I don't want to go into it. And then now I'm here and I'm going for like a different purpose. Like I'm going for myself to learn my stuff, you know, to also keep busy as well, too, to say I have it, to learn my craft and something else I like doing. Because I still do my video stuff on the side as well too. Like it's funny enough, I actually have a project that I'm going to apply what I learned to this project among everything else. So it's kind of like I think that's where the degree at this point helps you. It's kind of like it helps you for your credibility when you're building a business, in my opinion, right? Or if you have a side business or anything like that. So it's kind of like, you know, again, if you went to school for to be a dentist and you have whatever you know degree in that, you know, yeah, you could work for somebody, but you also like can work for yourself. And it's like, why should I go to you? Well, I'm a dentist, number one, but I'm certified, but I went to school for this and stuff like that. So it's kind of like it's I think the degree is going to be a more of a personal achievement that you can use for yourself to sell yourself instead of selling yourself to a company, if that makes any sense. That's where I see it going. Obviously, again, like you have to be very careful because you don't want to spend a bunch of money and stuff like that. But that's like one of the benefits. You would think I'm a spokesperson for WGU, but I'm not, right? I just really been liking it so much. And my mom has went there. She's getting her second master's right now. Again, she has a city job. You know what I'm saying? Getting paid very well. So it's like, and again, I have another family. My uncle, he's actually, I forgot what he does, but he has his master's and he makes six figures. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not impossible. It's just I just think that like the decisions to go to school for certain reasons need to be redefined for the person who's going, but also too like I don't believe you should be making those crazy decisions the minute you get out of high school because you're not going to know, you know. So it's like that's like again took a break for 7 years. I'm an adult now. I have 3 children, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so much I've experienced in making rational decisions. Like my frontal lobe is fully developed, you know. So it's kind of like I know what I want to do, and I know I have backups B, C, and D, you know? So it just depends on the person. But I've been literally, I was watching a video where, like, you know, people are, like, you know, complaining about a certain degree. And it's like, you know, you was never going to really make a lot of money if you are a fine arts major, if you're a gender studies major, if you're like majors that really like that really doesn't have a job market or really makes no fucking sense. Like with all due respect, you know? So again, some people say communications degree doesn't make any sense either, but for me personally, like that shit makes a lot of sense for me and I've been enjoying it a lot, you know? So and again, I'm somebody who does media. So like yeah guys, so like let me know if you're going to school, let me know if you're having any certifications, let me know if you're doing a trade. Again, I'm doing that as well too. That's like my main thing. School is like my side hustle at this point. And let me know like what do you feel about school. Again, I think it's a personal decision and you just kind of have to think 10 years ahead and like what you could possibly be doing, but you also need to be mature enough to know like you know how you're gonna maneuver, what's the landscape and etc like that. So again, I don't think if you're not paying a lot of money, it's something you like to do, I don't think it could be a bad thing. You know, I just think it gives you more confidence as a person, to be honest with you. But you know, again, you could be making $100,000, $200,000 without it, and you could be fine as well too. I just don't see a problem with not having it if you're not going to go in depth for the rest of your life. That's kind of what I'm saying, and if you had the time. So, but yeah, guys. So that is it. I will see you next week, and remember, life is a game. I'll see you next week.